guys, how are you doing? Peter here today, talking about editing this shot that we took a couple of days ago. If you're new here, make sure you check the video of the pre-production of this shot, how we took this shot. It is a very good video, I think, very informative for those who want to learn something new. Those beginners, you will get a lot out of it. And this video is all about how to color grade a little bit, how to align your shot, how to do the focus stacking. A lot of things is hidden in this video, and I think at the end of the video you can do the same. If I can do it, you can do it too. You can easily make this shot commercial grade and make a lot of money from product photography and food photography if you learn these kind of techniques. So first, make sure that you've watched the first video, how I did it, what lens do I use, what light do I use, and the process. It's kind of funny video as well. We don't take it very serious as well. And then we have 16 photos right here, and we start importing all of these photos here to Photoshop by importing like this. And I already imported 16 photos. As you can see, they're kind of different, and I went ahead and I edit them a little bit. I just edit this shot by adjusting a little bit, just exposure plus 0.2 and a little bit contrast. The reason why I always go minus for contrast for any shot is because I want to open those hidden spots of my shots, and it really helps. Just a little bit, minus 16, minus 25 works well. Then a little bit of highlight. I always turn my highlight a little bit down, and not that much of the shadow. White is good to boost it up, and if you want it more dramatic, you know, you can lower your black, and but don't play with them that much when you're in controlled area. If it was a wedding shot, definitely you would see this slider here, this slider there. You know, I just add +5 to each of these. Clarity and texture and haze is very important as well. And then highlights a little bit. Before you do all of this, make sure you go down here and you enable remove chromatic aberration and enable profile correction of your lens, because when you do it, it might change your exposure a little bit, and it's gonna correct your distortion as well, like this. And then start editing from here. If your white balance is wrong, you can just drop this eyedropper to a white spot and easily do it. You can also use one of those color checker passports as well. I used that day, I didn't use, but mostly I use. That's a good thing to you know, use. And then for coloring, for hue, saturation, and luminance sliders, I always start backward from luminance, then saturation, then hue. I don't touch the hue because this is a commercial shot. I'm not gonna change the actual natural colors that we had. That's why we go for shopping. That's why we get this bowl. That's why we buy this red tone of a strawberry, and so on and so forth. And then here the sharpness is a little bit important, just to have the basic sharpness. We are going to add the sharpness later in Photoshop, you will see, but in order to have the basic sharpness, 295 is good for this kind of shot, and masking is important. Click on press Option and hold it down on your keyboard if you're using Mac, and then start working on this masking. Masking is applying that amount of sharpness here on the edges, and here you don't want it on the foreground, on the white table and things in the background. You just want it around the edges. 95 is very good for these kind of shots. If it was wedding or things like that, according to the shot that you have, is close up or it's a long shot, depends on your story, you're gonna play with that. I'm gonna have tutorial about wedding and things, but remember, we are gonna have a commercial grade shot out at the end of this video. And noise reduction, we don't need to do anything with it. We are done. After you are done, click on the first shot and take the slider and hold shift and click on the last one and simply press on sync. Here on sync, that first photo that you edit, you don't need to go ahead and edit all of them because they are all the same in terms of exposure and basic adjustments. The only difference is focusing of each shot is different in different spot of the shot, in the foreground, midground, and background on the bowl. Okay, so after you do this, you synchronize and all of them will be the same. Select all of them, right click, go to edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. You don't need to open as a smart object in Photoshop. You don't need to go to photo merge in order to do the focus stacking and start editing this shot. Just go here, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. After you do this, I already did too, not to waste your time. You have all of those 16 photos right here. This is the first shot I took. This is the second shot. You see, they are not aligned well due to a very little maybe movement of the tripod, and also focusing in different spot, and all the elements inside the lens might change just a little bit. You see, if I zoom in, you see the difference. You see, it has a little bit like off center. Okay, anyway, we can fix this. Enable all of your layers and click on the first, hold on shift, click on the last, go to edit, go to auto align layer. It's gonna take somewhere around 10 minutes, and even opening all of these files in Photoshop took me like 10 minutes. And disable these two guys if you have it here. You don't need it at all. All right, you click on OK. I'm gonna fast forward this process for you guys, and after that we're gonna start a little bit faster. Alright, the aligning process is done. As you can see, the corner of the shot, they are kind of rotated, some of them, you know guys, like this. If you see it totally aligned everything. If you want to double check, zoom in, press H, hand tool, move it around, and start seeing if those blueberries, they are in the right place or not. They are in the right place. They are all in the right place, but different focusing, as you can see. Okay, right here I'm gonna enable all of this. Click on the first one and drag down, disable, and then enable. Make sure everything is enabled before you start and do anything. My suggestion, Photoshop is a crazy software, guys. Go and save it right away. It is gonna definitely save it as a TIFF file, but now I am saving as the PSD. Okay, so make sure you save as to PSD because they are CR3 files brought from Lightroom to Photoshop. It is gonna add the 17th TIFF file right here, as you can see. Let me double check. Look at here, TIFF file. You see, this is a TIFF file. So if you save, it's gonna save it in Lightroom. You gotta do save as to have it as PSD. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove this guy even from my disk because I don't want that huge TIFF file. All right, we're good now. We're gonna start by taking this guy out. I can easily go get the lasso tools right like this and just do like this and then feel, but the content error is not gonna work for this guy because you have different tones from here to here to here to here. It's not gonna work, guys, believe me. What you need to do is like, you need to get a read of this photo. You need to tell to Photoshop, I just want around here, I don't want this guy. The reason that we put this little light here because we wanted these highlights on we were using already 2 continuous light, and we just wanted a little bit more highlight on these guys right here hanging with toothpick. It took us like 2 hours to set this scene. The video is very, very informative. I think for those of you who want to learn, it's really good. These kind of videos are out there not for free, but I just wanted to do that. Okay, anyway, we are gonna click on the mask right here, and then we are gonna press Command and I to invert this layer. Now this layer is gone. See, you don't see any change. If I brush with white right here and brush here on the highlights, it is gonna work. Press B, Control Option, drag to the right to make the size of your brush bigger. If it is complicated, go and use this size, and you can also use the bracket to make your brush bigger and smaller, and then make sure the foreground color is white, and then Z, zoom in, H to position it with the hand, and now B again. Brush is enabled. Now make sure the opacity and flow of your brush is 100%, and then you start and you see all of those guys, the highlights here. H again, B again, and you enabled all of those highlights that you wanted to. Oh, even it affects right here. You see, guys, it's very important to have that little light. I'm happy that it just worked perfectly. All right, as you can see, they're a little bit blown up here and here and here and here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure we affect all of this guy by holding down Alt key or Option key, and you will see where, by clicking on your mask, you will see where you brushed. Okay, for example, I didn't brush here. I can brush here, for example, but it's gonna blow it up. You see that? If you want to get rid of this, you need to switch your foreground background color by pressing X and make it dark, and tell to the Photoshop, I don't want it here that much. Or if you want 50%, make the opacity 50%, so your brush is gonna work halfway. Press on X again and you make it halfway. You see that? Let me double check here. X, I get rid of these guys a little bit. Maybe I don't want it that much. And here too, just one click, maybe a little bit more. Let's go for 80 or 76 is all right. X, see, I am painting with white on black. You see a little bit of the light here. Get rid of this. H, again, make sure if it is white right here, and I click on B, and I am gonna have the whole thing that I had here. I'm not gonna do that. Command Z, one more time, and opacity 100%. And now I'm gonna switch the foreground background color to black and take this guy completely out. Right click, fit on the screen, hold Option, click on the mask. You see where you affected all of these guys. You see that? All right, so we got rid of this guy. Now it's time to do what? Now it's time to do the focus stacking, guys. In order to do the focus stacking, click on the first again and Shift last, and here go to Edit, here go to Auto Blend Layer, and here stack the image. Seamless tones and colors is recommended to be checked, and content over fill transparent areas, I think it is not good for this shot. Click OK. It's gonna take a while. I'm gonna fast forward this process and see the result. All right, the process is done, and I think it really did a good job, guys. Now, what we're gonna do, we are gonna start taking whatever is extra in this shot out. In order to do that, we're gonna have a little bit difficulties because this shot has a lot of details. Let's just start with this little guy right here, this Mr. Blueberry. What we're gonna do, we're gonna use the clone. Tap on clone, make it smaller, command shift and drag to the left, and if you drag up and down, you're gonna change the hardness of your brush as well. So we're gonna have it somewhere around, I like it 70%, 73%. Make it smaller again, control option, and then drag to the left. All right, now it's time to flatten the image. For that, you need to do command option shift and E, or right click and flatten the image. Click here and then flatten the image. You just got it here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do a little bit cloning right here. We grab the Mr. Clone is down here, and make the brush size what you want with control option to the right and left, or to up and down to change its hardness to 70%. I think is good for this shot. All right, and make it a little bit smaller and hold option down, and then we're gonna get a read of this. Make sure the flow is 100%. It wasn't. Okay, the blueberry, this part is gone. And now, in order to do this tripod right here, Z, focus a little bit more, H, move it with the hand, and do the clone one more time. Just make your brush a little bit smaller, get the clone from here, and start fixing it. And right here too. All right, at this stage we're gonna use the fill. Press L and then just go around these guys. Let's see how the content ever is going to work. Very good. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all the toothpicks, and right after that I get back to you. Alright guys, as you can see, no toothpick is around here, and I'm gonna zoom in and show you what I have done. The same technique using a content ever fill and the clone, and you see no footprint of these kind of stuffs. Now it's time for this guy. For this guy, we gotta content over the bold parts, the parts that they have really contrast. For example, this typography here. Okay, you just content over this. Definitely, it's gonna change here as well. You right click, fill. Okay. When I was setting this scene, I was thinking about editing this part as well. I was thinking like this ball is coming from somewhere really dark to those beautiful fruits that we have in the bowl. So this part will be totally black. So we're gonna do a little bit gradients right here, and let's see what we're gonna do. If you have this kind of stuff, just content over it one more time and it's gonna go. So we're gonna do a little bit gradient here, and this ball will be black until like this part, and then we boost the highlights here. Let's start doing that. Before all of this, let me crop it a little bit. All right, I just fast forward the cropping part since it was a lot of photos. It, was very slow. Anyway, in order to fix the foreground right here, we're gonna do Command J and make a copy of this layer, and then we are gonna make this layer a little bit opaque, like a little bit. You see, it's a little bit opaque, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to Edit, Transform, and make this shot horizontally mirrored. As you can see, that foreground right now is here. If I boost the opacity, I just want this little part to fix everything that I had there, and I think until here it's gonna work. So what we're gonna do, we are gonna make this 100% opaque. It just was for you there to see what we are doing. Okay guys, so 100%, and then we put a mask similar to what we did in the beginning of the video, and then we do Command I, so you don't see that shot anymore. Now we're gonna paint with white with pressing on B, and look at this. You don't see this anymore. For this guy right here, I'm happy it's getting a lot better than what it was, like this, you know. What we're gonna do right here, we're gonna use the content number one more time, see if it is going to take this guy out or not. Let's try, because never try, never know. Yes, it did a very good job. Since we're gonna have gradient from this side, and let's see, let's keep the highlights. Let's see here. Feel content over. Come on, buddy, you're gonna work out. All right, I am totally happy with what happened. Totally happy, because as I told you, I plan to have a very black side with contrast with this dark maroon right here. It's kind of my style. After making another layer, we are gonna do a little bit of gradients here. So change the foreground to black, and then choose gradients. Make sure the second one is on. This is very important. Don't forget to do the foreground to transparent one, and hand brush, zoom, fit the screen, zoom out a little bit, and now this is the moment of truth. Let's see how it's gonna be. And we do a little bit this side. Look at that ball is going to disappear. That's what we plan to do, you know, from the beginning of our shot. This is quite good, but what we need to take out is this part and this part on the top. In order to do that, make sure that you make a mask and you tap on press. Let's see if I want to take these guys out. I am able or not able. My opacity was 40 something. Make sure it is 100. See, it is totally getting it out. Hold option and click on here. See where you are working. See how your brush is affecting the shot down there. I think I am quite happy with this. Alright, and right here you're gonna take this part out. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna do merge visible one more time. Command Option Shift E, and it already made it. What we need to do here, we need to work on the exposure a little bit with curve. Make sure it is just affecting this layer right here. So I made it like a S curve, which is very famous in photography, and I think we're good right here. Right now what we need to do a little bit dodge and burning. Okay, you just click on dodge and make sure the highlight is selected, and the exposure of I think 10 or 15 is very good. Now we are going to do a little bit dodge and burning. Make sure we do merge visible the layer one more time, and then we start dodge and burning like this, a little bit here, a little bit here. Now I'm happy. So in this stage, I think we are kind of in a good hand, but there is something that really makes a difference. Alright, when we are in this stage right now, we need to make another merge visible by Command Option Shift E. Command Option Shift E. And then we are gonna make a copy of this layer one more time by pressing Command J. And for this guy right here, what we need to do, we need to go to Filter, 3D, and generate normal map in order to take all of these bumps out a little bit more. Okay, this is gonna take a while, and I'm gonna show you how we pop up all of these drops and you know, the grooves on the fruit and things. It's very easy. After I generated the map, I usually do 90% and 2 pixels of blurriness. Tap OK, you're good to go. After that, you see all the bumps right here. It's gonna look like this, no problem. But what you need to do, you need to invert it first. Command I in order to invert it, and then you need to desaturate it by going to Image, Adjustment, and Desaturate, or Command Option U, and then you change the blending mode to I think soft light, and it is gonna take all of those bumps out like these guys. You see the difference, and it made your shot a little bit, not a little bit, but a lot darker. What we need to do, we need to apply these only where we want, and even we can change the opacity. If the opacity is 0, it's not gonna have any effect, but maybe I go for like 30% like this, and then I am going to mask it out like this and invert my mask, so this effect has no change on my photo. Now I apply it where I want again with brush, where I have the drops, usually around here, right, where I have the drops. You see the difference? You see how it is popping up everything? Maybe a little bit here. Alright, now I'm very happy with these. Look, I want to change the composition a little bit. I want to crop it a little bit more. I want to actually cut this bowl kind of right here. I think it is pleasant. Alright, done. Cropping is done. Now it's time to do one more merge visible to overlayer. Command Option Shift and E. After that, we're gonna play with colors a little bit. I want to do a little bit color balance right here. Let's see how it's gonna change everything. If I turn my cyan a little bit here, it's gonna make the shot a little bit more vintage kind of looking. Look how this effect is amazing. Look how it's changing everything. And the yellow as well, you add yellow or you add a little bit blue. Maybe I go for a little bit blue to somewhere around 15, I think is good. Yes. And then after that, this is gonna apply only, I'm clipping it to this layer only. Okay, just another tip for you, it's gonna affect only this layer. We are good right now. What I think is I'm gonna pop up this rim light right here, so this way I'm gonna do a little bit more by curves. Clip it down and right here invert it and brush only here. Let me zoom. Alright, after using this layer, look how it changed the game. Maybe I want a little bit more right over here. Now look at this, totally different. I took the bowl out, so from that shot, look how we turn it to something different. All right, what I'm gonna do a little bit like a photo filter, I think is good to make it a little bit actually cooler. I like LBB, and the density maybe can be quite high, somewhere around here. Now look at this shot. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna clip it down and invert it and just apply it right here to the strawberries, sorry, to the blueberries. They are blueberry, guys. A little bit here. All right, it's good. Now what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of more highlights in around here. So I'm just gonna boost the highlight as much as I can. I'm just looking at this area. I don't care about here that is overexposed because we are gonna mask it out, right? A little bit, and then the contrast with pulling down the shadows. Right here I'm gonna clip again, Command I and B. Now I'm gonna open up here just a little bit. All right, I think pretty much that's it. It looks kind of okay to me. Next is Command Option Shift E, make another merge visible layer, and then now it's time to sharpen it up. We go to sharpen, and usually I do like this. I do one sharpen edge. It's not gonna ask you anything, it's just gonna sharpen the edges. And the second one I do, again I go to sharpen, I do smart sharpen right here. I can tell you that I want to see it right here. I sample this part of the image. Now I'm gonna add the amount that I want. Okay, we sharpen it like 121%, and I think it's good enough right here in this case. It's a lot of work just for this bowl to show you how far you can go with these kind of stuffs. As you can see how different it became from this to that. It's kind of like postmodern colors and things, you know. That's what I think is important in food photography. Do something that is your style, not to copy from others. That's what I feel that we see maybe in this photo. I hope you like this video. It became a little bit longer than what I expected. Make sure you see the pre-production as well. redphotographers.com. Peter here, guys. I catch you in the next one.